What is up, everybody, and welcome to FLW Videos. In today's episode, we are going to be extending into the deep dive series by talking about the Pokemon Thundurus added into Pokemon Go. So if you don't know about this, all of these different Pokemon that have been coming out actually have two forms. They have the Incarnate form and then the Therian form. Today we are going to be talking about the one that's actually coming out in Pokemon Go first, and that is the Incarnate form. We'll be talking about this Pokemon from a raid perspective, PvP, and wherever it ends up mattering the most. And then of course deciding the important questions. Is it going to be worth powering up? Should you unlock a secondary charge move? And so much more. If you do enjoy this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. Thundurus, with a max AP of 3,345. Thundurus Incarnate form is a dual-type Pokemon of Electric as well as the Flying type. And of course we're going to be talking about this Pokemon from whatever moveset ends up making sense, which we will of course dive into that. So a lot of people are probably excited about this Pokemon. It definitely looks cool. So let's go ahead and dive into it a little bit further to see if it is going to be worth the investment. So the first thing that we like to do is of course take a look at the stats. Now the best stat that's kind of sticking out in my mind is the attack stat. Definitely looking good from that kind of standpoint. We have an attack stat of 266. That ranks it at 28th in Pokemon Go. But unfortunately we are seeing a low defense stat and a low stamina stat. So very attack heavy, much like a glass cannon. Its overall ranking from a statistical perspective is 76th in Pokemon Go. But at the end of the day, even if it has an amazing attack stat like that, how good is it going to be? And that really depends on the moveset. As far as the moveset being loaded into the game, it's unfortunately not looking the greatest for Thundurus. Doesn't mean it's going to completely hurt it, but it doesn't have like the best case scenario with something like a Wild Charge, for example. So what's currently loaded in is Thunder Shock, Thunder, and then Thunder Punch. Now that's going to of course be all of the stab moves. We actually don't see anything from that Flying type, which is kind of interesting. So we're definitely going to take a look at the Thunder versus Thunder Punch, and then of course mostly focusing on this Pokemon from an electric typing. So I'm definitely excited about that. So let's go ahead and jump into this. We're going to go ahead and take a look at it versus one of its own counterparts, and that's going to be Tornadus. So Tornadus, with it being a pure Flying type Pokemon, will be weak to the electric typing. And I wanted to go ahead and just highlight a couple of the top electric type Pokemon. We've got Electivire in there, we've got Raikou, Magnezone. I mean, you could even go with a couple other ones as well. But the main point that I wanted to go ahead and get from this is that Thundurus is not necessarily going to be that good of an option when you were talking about it taking over some other types. Like, you've got Electivire, you've got Raikou, for example. Raikou has been kind of like the #1 spot for the most part, like kind of the benchmark for those electric type Pokemon. And Thundurus Incarnate form is just simply not able to do it. I honestly think that moveset really hurts it. Raikou actually has a lower attack stat, but because it has a very good moveset, it is able to overcome something like that Thundurus in that case. But don't worry about it. I think in the future we're going to get a little bit of a different conversation when we actually take a look at Thundurus with its Therian form, because man, the attack stat is like 290 something. That is where the real money is at least from the raid side. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the results on the PvP side to see if there is something a little bit interesting with this Pokemon. So when I ended up running some of the simulations, what ended up happening was it actually did best in the Ultra League as far as its rank concerned. But even then, it's getting a rank of 110, so that is something to take note of. And the ideal moveset was Thunder Shock, Thunder Punch, and Thunder. So not really a lot of spread in the typing. It ends up working out best this way. A couple of Pokemon kind of fall into that. Maybe something like a Dragonite, for example, with Dragon Claw, and then maybe like Draco Meteor or Outrage or something. It just kind of works out like that. Giratina does the same thing. But as far as its like top counters and stuff, Charizard is fairly common in the Ultra League. And then Togekiss definitely is as well, but the other ones, not so much. So it's something that isn't necessarily going to be the greatest from the PvP side. So what exactly should you do with this Pokemon? So unfortunately, we don't really see a lot of good news with this Incarnate Thundurus form. You would love to have a Pokemon that is good at both raid as well as PvP, or at least settle for a Pokemon that is good at least one of those two things, and who knows, maybe even like the Team Rocket battle stuff. But unfortunately, the incarnate form just doesn't really have a lot going on for it, except for one thing, and that is going to be just having the Thundurus name. Because of that, what you can do is go ahead and start catching this Pokemon now, building up your candy, not powering up any of them, but building up your Thundurus candy, and then actually using it on the Therian form when it comes out. Of course, depending on if it gets a good moveset, but because of its attack stat being so high, odds are it's still going to be an amazing electric type Pokemon. If it's not number 1, it'll probably be number 2. So I think it's honestly going to be a safe bet and something that you should definitely consider. But I would absolutely love to know what you think about Thundurus in the comment section below. What is your plan? Do you plan to go ahead and kind of farm up those candies now? Or would you rather wait for the Therian form to come out to see what its moveset is and then do it that way? I would love to know what you think about this Pokemon in the comment section below, and I will see you next time. If you want to develop a deeper connection, I would highly recommend you to check out Patreon. We've got a lot of really cool things going on over there. Check out all of these supporters that we have. We are almost up to 100. We are also posting some special content, some behind the scenes work. And if that is the type of thing that interests you, I would highly recommend you to check it out.